Nobody wants to live in a place where safety is a major concern, diaspora or otherwise. For those of us who live abroad, certainly whenever we look for places to live, safety is always a concern, and the same is exactly true when we return home finally. So, security in Kenyan villages can be considered sort of like a mixed bag of realities. For the most part, the vast majority of the villages I'm familiar with are very safe. But as always, there are regional differences and there are exceptions here and there. So, in this video today, I want to talk to you about this issue of safety and security in the village, sharing some of the insights and things that I've come to learn about that I hope you will consider if you're thinking of maximizing your safety while in the village. Now, again, this is a particularly critical issue for current and future returnees because many of us experience the exact same challenges that people who live at home face. But in addition to that, there are certain specific safety issues that only applies to returnees. So we're going to explore that in the next 10 minutes or so. In the meantime, I'm just doing my morning run, picking fresh mapera. Mapera should be guava. Okay, yeah. Picking fresh mapera from the front of my gate. This is the one fruit that I absolutely love. Not just because of the taste, but it just invokes amazing memories as a kid, running around and picking wild guavas everywhere. So this is a fruit that I actually picked from my grandmother's property and planted here just about 2 years ago. So every morning, whenever it's in season, I wake up in the morning, check and pick it up before the birds take it or before anybody else pick it up. So anyway, before we talk about all of that, good morning, my good people. Welcome to Karating. We are really enjoying the serenity and the peace that comes with village life, especially after the festive season. The village is now quiet, no more music, no more all that noise. So things have gone back to what we do typically describe as factory settings. And we are happy. This is what the village looks like outside the festive season. So if you're joining us for the first time, welcome. We appreciate your support. And we hope to see you again either as a subscriber or as a future viewer. Now, if you didn't know this, we do help diasporans or people who live away from the village on matters construction, real estate, land, and basically just everything about how to prepare to lead a dignified life in the village. So if you're interested in things like that, please feel free to reach out to the number that I posted earlier in the video. I'm happy to consult. If I don't know it, we will ask around. We have to find somebody who knows something you're looking for. So I don't claim to be an expert, but I've met a few people that know more than I do, and I'm happy to connect with those folks. So that said, everyone who plans to return to the village eventually, just like every other place, must consider issues of security as part of the whole package. And as I said earlier, the vast majority of places in Kenya that you can live in the village, especially the ones I've visited, are way more safe compared to even the diaspora places that I live in. I live in LA, in Long Beach, right outside LA. And for those of you who know California and LA area, our crime rates are something else. So I know for sure I am 1,000% safer in Karating than I am when I go back to LA. So while it's true that we are generally safe, things do happen on occasion. And we just want to be honest about that so that you don't run into surprises here and there. So the average village, for the most part, you'll find just a couple of crimes. For example, you'll have petty crimes for the most part, like thefts here and there. I remember one time they came in before I had my electric fence, and they were taking things like maybe the water faucets, or maybe a pump on their side. So whatever it is they could pick around. So just petty thefts. Sometimes it's theft of animals, burglary here and there. But a lot of that is mostly because I had not secured my property. Another very common crime in the village is trespass, where some folks, of course not all, a few folks have little respect for people's property. Recently, I found a neighbor at a land that I bought decided to just dig a trench right through my land to install a water pipe without even consulting me and not even thinking they could have talked to me. So yes, there's issues of trespass here and there that happens in the village. Of course, that is linked to property destruction. I had a friend of mine who somebody just went to his farm and destroyed his arrowroots just for the sake of it. So things like that can happen in the village, and certainly there are more extreme cases, especially for people who live in the margins of Kenya. Now it's not my job to talk about that, but if you're interested, you can find it out on your own. So here's some of the key points that I want to share with you. That number one, when it comes to risk, there are about maybe 10 or 11 things that really elevate the risk more than the average case. For example, your biggest risk in the village are your relatives and your employees, because typically those are the folks who will set you up. And then the next problem you want to worry about are the crooked law enforcement officers. In fact, I recently had a case where a client of mine had a home invasion at a place I will not mention. And the folks who invaded her home were in full police uniform and the guns and everything else. And based on what she described, I am convinced that it just had to be folks who were either law enforcement officers or people affiliated to them, because that is not unusual in Kenya. And also, some of these crimes typically happen mostly at night when it's raining. They are more common with people who live alone, especially women, people who have poor fencing, especially if you have just a wire fence. That usually is not enough to prevent many of these things. And those who don't have dogs. And by the way, I know some people like giving me flack that we tie our dogs. Yes, these are not pets. These are guard dogs, and they're very dangerous. So whenever we have folks working within our property, we have to secure them. Because I've had some examples of very close calls with people who are working in my property. When one of the dogs was out, it actually nearly hurt somebody. So I know it doesn't look pretty, so just cut me some slack. These are guard dogs, these are not pets, and they're very dangerous. So whenever I have folks on property, we have to secure them. So anyway, those who don't have dogs may have issues because these dogs typically serve the function of just signaling if there's an intruder. And then people who have predictable schedules can have issues. If your business is all out there when everybody knows everything about you, sometimes that can be an issue. And if you're in a poor lit area, that may be a problem. So those are some of the things that can elevate your risk of something happening to you in the village. Some of the crimes that happen may revolve around land disputes or family problems. Some people have issues within their family, and then they set up their family members by inviting thugs to do stuff. So that can happen. So rarely do you find some random stranger coming from elsewhere to come and commit a crime. It's usually the people from the neighborhood doing it themselves or doing crime in collaboration with people from elsewhere. But over 90% of the cases, it's usually within your immediate circle. So I'll tell you why that is important in terms of how to prepare. Now, in some cases, there are certain crimes in the village that are linked to ethnicity or ethnic tensions, especially people who live around border areas. Around election time, there may be a few things happening here and there, but that's not a frequent problem. It just depends on where you live. So again, here are some of the things that I want you to think about if you are building in the village or if you're thinking about setting up a place in the village. Number one, it's always a good idea to set up multiple layers of security. And that may include, of course, number one, starting with a proper wall. And it doesn't have to be super high. Proper wall with an electric fence like the one I'm showing you right now. And the thing about this type of fence is that it just gets rid of petty thieves. Usually, once you set it up, almost all the petty thieves are done. It will take a whole lot for folks to do this. Not because this is a big deal. The electric fence is often tied to an alarm system so that when something touches it, it'll signal you. So you build a proper fence or a proper wall with your electric fence, and then make sure you have guard dogs, you have CCTV, you have just multiple layers of security. There's certain things that we do that I cannot share with you here on the video, but I can share with you privately if we are talking one-on-one. But multiple layers of security. Again, you do this not because the village is unsafe. It is just more of a deterrence so that you are not going to make it easy should anybody think about accessing your property. Then, of course, proper lighting. Right now, we have very good solar security lights. All you need is just buy a bunch of them, put them so that your home is well lit. So that helps with deterring any unwanted attention. And then, of course, the location of your home matters. Folks who choose to build very close to the main roads may attract attention because it's easier for thugs to access those properties and come in and out. So if you've not bought land yet, if you're thinking about a place you're going to live, I often recommend that it's probably a good idea to go a little bit inside, because then you don't attract attention. So the trade-off then is that if your home is slightly inside, then the road may not be perfect, but your home is not as visible. So those who build along major roads typically get more attention than necessary. Now that said, again, be extremely careful with your employees and relatives, because the majority of cases, they will either commit the crime or they will collaborate with people who are going to commit crimes at your place. So be very careful with the people that you employ or people that live with you. Make sure you don't have a predictable schedule, that nobody knows when you're coming in and out, what you're doing and all that. Avoid carrying valuables like cash. In Kenya, you can absolutely operate 100% cashless anywhere and you'll be fine. And then, of course, invest in good relations with your neighbors. You'd be surprised how much your neighbors can look out for you if you have great relationships. Again, also invest in great relationship with law enforcement. Make sure you have some numbers that you can call. Unfortunately, these folks keep getting switched left and right, but make sure you have numbers you can call if you ever needed law enforcement. And then, if you use metal windows, make sure it's proper metal work, because I've seen folks do very flimsy windows and doors that are very easy to break into. Do proper work if at all you're going to use metals for your windows and your doors. And then, of course, you got to make sure that there's somebody or there are people living on site. Even today, I'm still surprised that people invest so much money in a property that they just live without anybody in there. Even if you hire a guard, to the extent possible, try and get somebody to live, not in your house, but within the property. Because oftentimes when there's nobody living in there, that's when folks come in. So I hope this was helpful to you guys. If there's something I missed, you can add it in the comment section, and I will see you in the next video. Thank you.